show. And we're going to relay compelling commentary from Bob Yarborough, the king of Redfields, on today's show, as he discusses the Austification of Charlottesville, Austin, Texas, making a comparison to Austin, Texas, and Charlottesville. Maria Marshall Barnes, thank you for liking the program. Like and share the show, guys. I'm in a good mood today. I try to be in a good mood every day. Would you say I'm in a good mood every day, Judah? Are we live on YouTube?
I'm checking now. I think so.
Oh, we are live on YouTube. We are live on YouTube. Judah is crushing it. Judah the Barracuda. Judah the Barracuda. All right, we can start the program when you're ready. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Search the I Love CVille Network on YouTube and subscribe and hit notifications. If you're watching on YouTube, hammer that like button. J-Dubs, we can rock and roll when you're ready.
Quiet on the set.
Quiet on the set. Do you like when I say quiet on the set?
I think it's hilarious.
You think it's hilarious?
No, but...
Huh?
No, but...
He doesn't think it's funny. I have a hard time telling your humor.
I know.
All right, we can rock and roll when you're ready. And I've known you for 15 years, and still I have a hard time. Welcome to the I Love CVille show. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us on a Friday afternoon in downtown Charlottesville. Goodness gracious, it's gorgeous and glorious outside. It is a true gift to be alive in Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and in Central Virginia. So much going for us. So many opportunities professionally, so many things to do personally, so many restaurants to try, so many breweries and vineyards to enjoy, so many trails to hike. So many trails to mountain bike upon. The seasons, 4 of them, very distinct in nature, make the transition of hot and humidity into crisp fall, into chilly winter, into the briskness of spring. It makes it pleasant to live here. The foliage, the flowers, the birds, the live music scene. Gosh almighty, the music scene is fantastic around here. And how about the mall? I'm passionate for the mall. My wife gives me a hard time. She says, you love this place called the Downtown Mall. It's really not a mall, Jerry. She says, it's not a mall, but you guys call it the Downtown Mall. I am passionate about these 8 blocks. I'm passionate about the people that are here. I mean, the level of sophistication and education generally you find in big metropolitan areas. This tiny town, this small little city punches out of its weight class, doesn't it? Every day I realize how this tiny town punches out of its weight class and continues to pursue gold medal recognition with publications across the country acknowledging Charlottesville and the quality of life it offers. Now, folks, of course we have headwinds and challenges that we deal with. Of course we have aspects and dynamics of Charlottesville that are hurdles to clear. And those challenges have been really present of late. Jim Ryan's in a crossroad of challenges. The Department of Justice is followed up again, and they said, yo, Jim Ryan, if you don't give us proof that diversity, equity, and inclusion have been eradicated from the University of Virginia, we're not going to give you any of our money. And now the president of Thomas Jefferson's University is left with this question. Do I, as president of UVA, do what's best for UVA and maintain federal funding, or do I, as president of the University of Virginia, do what's best for the school and maintain diversity, equity, and inclusion? What should Jim Ryan choose? Now, don't feel bad for Jimbo. Jimbo's earning $1 million+ a year, but Jimbo's got a conundrum on his hands. And if Jimbo thought he could pull a fast one on the DOJ and Donald Trump, they said, we want proof, and you're going to give us tangible proof. And any of these administrators that are working in the diversity, equity, and inclusion department, and Jimbo, you said on the record in a recent Board of Visitors meeting that you had, what was the number, Judah, in the BOV meeting? He said he had 50 some working in the DEI department, Jim Ryan said at a recent BOV meeting? Give me that exact number. That's in that article that we were reading there. 55, I think, is the exact number. And the DOJ is saying, I want clear proof where those 55 have gone, and if they're still employed at the University of Virginia, what exactly their role is. We'll talk about that on the I Love CVille show. Judah's going to get me that number. 55. Jerry's memory's on point today. 55 who primarily work in DEI. 5.8 million tied to those 55 primarily payroll. There's some reports in chitter chatter and scuttlebutt that diversity, equity, inclusion is north of $20 million year cost for UVA. We'll talk about that on today's program. I want to highlight an amazing comment from Barbara Bosick. I want to highlight an amazing comment from Bob Yarborough on today's show. I published some commentary on the I Love CVille network today. And I'll read the commentary to you. You can find it across all social media in the I Love CVille network. I'll wet the whistle, if you may, with the commentary right now, and then I'm going to come back to it and pass along how the king of Redfields, Bob Yarborough, and B Squared, Barbara Bosick, responded to what I had to say. Here's my commentary. Charlottesville and Albemarle County should expect a 5,000 to 8,000 person uptick in population in the next 24 months. The UVA Biotechnology Institute and the UVA Data Science School will be the drivers of this incremental increase, which will be a very wealthy influx of new residents. Both schools will be cutting edge and world-class in their respective fields. Both schools will birth economic ecosystems of small, medium, and big businesses latched onto them to procure talent and ideas. Both schools will attract white-collar professionals with earning potential well above area median family household income, $125,800. This 5,000 to 8,000 stampede of people will significantly impact housing in Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and across Central Virginia. This technology gold rush will force the middle class into surrounding counties at an even more aggressive rate. If you think affordability is challenging now, wait until you see what happens in the next 24 months. Please prepare yourselves accordingly. I got a lot of feedback from that commentary today. 2 pieces of feedback from Bob Yarborough and Barbara Bosick really stood out to me, and I'm going to pass it along to you, the viewer and listener. On yesterday's program, Judah and I had how would you characterize the conversation? A spirited, friendly debate.
Yeah.
Spirited, friendly debate. And I asked, I've been on this talking point for more than a year now, probably 2 years, that Charlottesville is no longer a 40-hour work week. Charlottesville is now a 60-hour work week. If you want to live in Charlottesville or Albemarle County, you're going to be clocking 60 hours. Judah pushed back on that and said, damn it, I'm not going to work a lick over 40.
I did not say that.
Okay, you did say that.
You keep misrepresenting
All right.
me, and it's
Are you on a 2-shot?
Yeah.
Okay. What did you say? I said it's a 60-hour work week.
I don't
If you want to
remember my
work, if
exact
you want to
word,
live in
but-
Charlottesville and Albemarle County, you have to work minimum 60 hours. It's a 60-hour work week now. Did you not push back on that?
I did push back on that.
Okay.
But I never made it personal. I never said
I know-
I'm not going to do this.
Well, you work 40 hours a week. You don't work over 40.
I mean, I do, but
You have a side hustle that I don't know of?
no.
The what we clock here is 40. Okay.
Is it?
Yeah, it's 40. So
All right.
here, I've said it's 60 and maybe 70. This is your entry to say, see, you kept raising the bar. And I say, this is just what you need to do. That spirited debate got you and I talking about artificial intelligence. And I closed yesterday's show. Well, if you want to keep your job eventually, you're going to be working this amount of time because AI is going to start replacing people. And then that solicited a lot of response from viewers and listeners, specifically Travis Hackworth in Danville. He offered some commentary that I found very compelling.
Yeah.
And that commentary was AI replacing people. What was the
Including
specific?
doctors.
What?
Including surgeons.
Including surgeons. Hyundai is bringing robots to its Georgia plant to take over car assembling from humans.
I mean, I thought
Hyundai A massive car manufacturer is using robots to assemble cars.
I don't think that's anything new, though.
No, I mean, it's not new, but that's jobs that were previously human capital. My point is this: the average man or woman is going to have to showcase to their employer a value proposition more so than ever before, with technology being so readily available. Keith Smith on Real Talk with Keith Smith this morning handed me his white paper. I've read through this. This is fantastic. This is like a 6 or 7 page white paper on the state of housing locally, a housing snapshot across the Carr region. He said he pumped ideas into ChatGPT, and he pays for the premium service, the monthly fee premium for ChatGPT, which he said is $125 a month. And that $125 a month with ChatGPT, after Keith spoke into the software, this is what I want you to produce, turned around a 7-page white paper that is like graduate student quality. I've read through this white paper. I'm going to save this, what Keith brought in for Real Talk. We're talking graduate student caliber white paper here. And Keith is
extremely dependent on what you provided.
Keith has openly said on the show, he's got a New York public school, high school education, and that's it. And he has openly said on the show that reading and writing are far from his strong suit. Says it all the time. His words. And this thing is so damn good, this white paper, so well put together. So I want to have this conversation in Charlottesville, Virginia. In Charlottesville, Virginia. Which jobs will be replaced first? Which human jobs will be replaced first by artificial intelligence? We're going to talk about that on the I Love CVille show today. We're going to talk on the program today, ladies and gentlemen, the $1.5 million for the Cherry Avenue shelter has been vetoed by Governor Glenn Youngkin. Judah's going to set the stage and table for that one. I want to give some props to John Vermillion and Andrew Vermillion, Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. 60 consecutive years in business. We're approaching 61. The Vermillions, John and Andrew, classy people, honest people, men of integrity. And this 3-generation family business is the type of business you want to support. This is the type of business that you want to support. They give back. They're philanthropic. They are community pillars. John and Andrew Vermillion, Charlottesville Sanitary Supply, online at charlottesvillesanitarysupply.com. Judah Wickower, weave you in on a 2-shot. Goodness gracious, Jim Ryan's got a conundrum on his hands, right?
No doubt.
The Department of Justice is now dropping the DEI hammer on UVA. And this is what happens. They say this often. First to market gets slaughtered. In when America was growing East Coast to West Coast, Judah, and there was this pursuit of manifest destiny, as folks went from very densely populated East Coast urban hubs to across the Mississippi River and into the western portion of the country to pursue the American dream, land ownership, the house and the white picket fence, to pursue wealth, a gold rush, to pursue opportunity, to pursue the unknown. Americans, in our hearts, we have this entrepreneurial spirit. Some can squash it and not pursue it, but others chase it. They chase it like they're chasing the dragon. And this is what happened when the country started seeing its population go from right coast to left coast. And in those early stages of Manifest Destiny, and the early stages of pursuing this American dream, the settlers, the explorers that were first to market, first to start crossing the Mississippi into the plains, into the Rockies, into the coast, the West Coast, those first folks were the ones that got slaughtered. Very similar to Friendster and MySpace when compared to Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. Remember Tom from Facebook? Tom from MySpace, excuse me? We all had Tom on our MySpace friends list. Remember Friendster?
Not really.
Remember AOL, Instant Messenger? These were the first to market social media platforms. And the first to market social media platforms, just like the first to market explorers, were the ones that got slaughtered and eviscerated.
Yeah.
UVA was, in a lot of ways, first to market with this championing, no, Donald Trump, we are not going to listen to you. We are going to keep diversity, equity, and inclusion here in Charlottesville. No, Donald Trump, you are wrong. We're not going to listen to you. And we're actually going to ban and partner with Harvard University to sue your administration because you're basically leveraging federal funding against us to try to get your policy infiltrated into our respective universities and colleges. And we think, Donald Trump, what you're doing is wrong. That's what UVA and Harvard did, for example. They band together, they sued the Trump administration. And when you back a man like Trump, who very much embodies the dark triad ideology. Judah, do you remember the qualities of the dark triad?
No, I don't have them memorized.
We went over this. The qualities of the dark triad: narcissism, Machiavellism, psychopathy. He embodies these to the T, the dark triad. And when Harvard and UVA chose to sue the Trump administration and say, give us the money, your policy has no impact here. We're not tied to you and your administration or the federal government, but we do want your money. Trump then used his power.
Was UVA really part of that suit?
Oh, yeah. And the Department of Justice, ladies and gentlemen, is issuing aggressive letters to Jim Ryan and the University of Virginia's Board of Visitors. And another one has hit the BOV and Jim Ryan. And ladies and gentlemen, Judah, I'm about to weave you in. Don't go down that rabbit hole over there. I'm about to weave you in. Jim Ryan noted in a recent Board of Visitors meeting that UVA employs 55 people who work primarily in diversity, equity, and inclusion. These 55 people allocate 80% of their time to DEI initiatives. And he says that the UVA budget is $5.8 million for DEI, primarily payroll coverages for those 55 employees. There's other reports out there that says that UVA is allocating more than $20 million a year to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, the DOJ and Donald Trump, remember the dark triad, they want receipts. They want Jim Ryan and the BOV on record to provide them a report that was reviewed in closed session, not public session, closed session. And they want to know where those 55 employees are, whether they got fired or they lost their jobs or they got reassigned. Mm-hmm. They want documentation that DEI has been completely stripped. And if they don't, the federal government is going to start withholding funding from UVA. Yeah. And in 2023, the Commonwealth of Virginia, UVA received the most amount of federal funding in 2023, $384 million plus. We're not talking pocket change here. We're talking roughly 6, 7, 8% of the budget. Yeah. The yearly budget is $5.5 billion. $5.5 billion, okay? So 6%, that's actually way less than that, actually. Because, no, 6, 7, 8%. We're talking right there. Yeah, 6, 7, 8%. I'm going to ask you, the viewer and listener, this question. Are you ready? Is Jim Ryan's responsibility, what is his responsibility as president? Is his responsibility to do what's best for UVA as president? Is that his fiduciary duty? Is Jim Ryan's fiduciary duty, if we know it's to do what's best for UVA, is his fiduciary duty to maintain the bag of federal money or to maintain the DEI mission and initiative? What is his top priority, or what should be his first pick? If he was on the playground at lunchtime and he had to build a basketball team and he had the first pick at recess on the asphalt blacktop after we ate our Lunchables and we drank our Hi-C Ecto green cooler and we ate our mini Snicker bar that Mom packed in our lunchbox. and I had first pick to build a team, am I picking DEI or the bag of federal funding? What is Jim Ryan doing, Judah?
I mean, I think it's become fairly clear that he's chosen the DEI, at least for now. But with the new hammer, so to speak, we'll have to wait and find out.
He has tried to bamboozle the Youngkin-led Board of Visitors by repositioning or using smoke and mirror tactics to maintain DEI momentum at UVA. And the Jefferson Council has called him out about that from the get-go. They're calling him out with commentary from Mr. Bacon on the Jefferson Council. They're calling him out from commentary from fired Board of Visitors member Bert Ellis on the I Love CVille show. They're calling him out with advertisements placed in the Richmond Times-Dispatch and the Daily Progress saying DEI is still alive at UVA. They are a dog with a bone, relentless on this topic. And now Trump's administration and the DOJ have caught wind. And they are becoming dog with a bone-esque as well. And the president, who lives on a mansion in Cars Hill with $1 million+ in compensation, as one of the most powerful people in the Commonwealth, and yes, the president of UVA most certainly is, realized he may have made a strategic error when he tried to bamboozle the BOV by saying DEI would be eradicated, but in reality, just repositioning DEI as a different initiative under the cloak, under the clandestine, under the hidden nature of a different moniker. And now the DOJ wants receipts. And if you're Jim Ryan, you're left with this predicament, and I can assure you it keeps him up at night. If I have to do what's best for UVA, is what's best maintaining the $400 million roughly in funding we get from the federal government, knowing that we recently have lost, was it $83 million in that report? $83 million UVA lost because Department of Government Efficiency funding cuts tied to research. They've already lost $83 million in federal grant funding because of cost cutting by the DOJ, by DOJ.
Yeah.
Okay? Can they risk any more loss? And what compounds the matter here is that the employees at the university aren't getting 3% raises right now.
Yeah.
The employees at the university are not getting performance-based bonuses. They don't have discretionary spending, and the talk is that employees at UVA may actually take pay cuts. And we know the morale at the UVA health system is lower than it's ever been. So can you imagine if the president of the University of Virginia chooses to keep going down the road of DEI? He's basically telling all the staff at UVA, I'm going to fight for this DEI mission, and I'm going to say no to this $400 million in funding from the federal government, when I've already seen $83 million in federal grant funding cut. And I'm going to do it despite you, rank and file members of the University of Virginia, not getting a 3% raise, not having performance-based bonuses, not having discretionary spending for research or other initiatives, and maybe having to take a pay cut. Is that out of touch? Or is that courageous because he is doing this in the mission of trying to keep the schools diverse, as inclusive, and as equitable as possible?
He might actually have a fair amount of support for going that route.
Where the support starts to erode is when staff start seeing their paychecks shrink.
Yeah, but for some of them, that might be a necessary evil, so to speak.
Is it a necessary evil because you're talking about a president that's making $1 million and has free living quarters? When does it become a necessary evil, or how does it impact your decision making when you're a graduate student doing research and you're getting paid $30 or $40K? When you're the when you're the secretary of a department and you're getting $50, $60K? When does that start becoming, no, this isn't a necessary evil. I'm not able to afford my groceries or my utilities now.
I'm not talking about employees being told it's a necessary evil. I'm talking about employees believing strongly enough in the DEI measures that they're willing to forego those things.
I would love to see some kind of anonymous survey of the staff at the University of Virginia, all faculty, all staff, all employees of UVA. And if this is the survey, would you support maintaining DEI of UVA if it means that your pay is going to be cut?
And some of you may have to be let go.
And some of you may have to be fired. Exactly, Judah.
Because I think the $83 million is covering those, would have potentially covered some of
Nope,
those
your numbers
raises.
are off. The $55 million,
What?
the $55 million is for the staff. Or excuse me, the $5.3 million is for the staff of 55. The $83
That's not
million.
what I was talking about.
I apologize then. I'll be quiet. The
I was saying
$83
the
million
eight-
was
the-
for research.
Yeah, but because they lost that, that's part of the reason they're not giving raises, right?
I would imagine that part of the reason the University of Virginia is not offering raises to 3% raises to faculty and staff is for all these factors combined. I would imagine as, oh my goodness, we could have this federal funding cut. Oh my goodness, we are having our research money cut. There's cuts in Washington that trickle down to us. I would imagine it's a number of reasons here.
Okay.
UVA's been in the headlines for a number of reasons. Very curious to see how that impacts fundraising.
Yeah.
I would love to see an anonymous survey that's out there sent to faculty and staff saying, would you support DEI if it means that your pay is flat or your pay is cut, and see what those results are. But that's the conundrum Jim Ryan's in right now. Mm-hmm. And that's no easy pill to swallow on Carr's Hill. No easy pill to swallow at all.
Yeah.
Next headline, Judah Wickhauer, what do you got? Put it on screen. What's the lower third, my friend?
Let's see. Barbara Bozick.
Barbara. And I hope I'm saying her last name correctly. She's a realtor. Her name, Barbara Bosick. Am I saying Barbara right? Am I saying your last name right, Barbara? I offered commentary on the show, on the network, before the show, early this morning, about the population uptick of 5,000 to 8,000 people. I then had somebody on my Facebook page, Trisha Thompson, push back on me saying, as a property owner and influencer, you've led the charge here. Why are you now sounding the alarm on a problem you've been cultivating for years? Have I not on this show, Judah, for years been saying that the Biotechnology Institute and the Data Science School is going to uptick the population and we should be mindful of it?
Yeah.
Have I not been saying that for years?
Yeah.
So for her to offer the commentary that I'm just now sounding the alarm is disingenuous. It's disingenuous.
Explain the other portion of that.
She said, as a property owner and influencer, you've led the charge here. Why are you now sounding the alarm on a problem you've been cultivating for years?
Led the charge on...
I have no idea. That's what her post was. She says, I'm just now sounding the alarm about a population uptick and it's going to impact housing values. I've been saying for years, there's thousands of hours of video of me saying on YouTube that Data Science School and Biotechnology Institute are going to influx wealthy people, and that influx of wealthy people are going to drive home prices out. I've been saying that for years. I am not just sounding the alarm now, okay? That's not a fair statement. So I push back on it, okay? And I'm very confident what I'm saying is right. And if you look at the tape, a lot of the predictions and a lot of the forecasting we do on this show proves to be accurate. We have a very high accuracy rate. Okay, there was multiple people who left comments under the commentary that I published this morning that is now going viral. Okay, one of them was Bob Yarborough, the king of Redfields. He makes a comparison to Charlottesville with Austin, Texas. I'm going to read the king of Redfield's commentary. He's a smart man, a measured man, a man of experience and thought, a man who thinks before he speaks, a man who thinks before he writes and hits publish. Okay, here's Bobby Yarborough. I have resisted somewhat the discussion of the Austification, that's Austin, Texas, the Austification of Charlottesville. There are certainly surface similarities, and I've often thought about some of the deeper issues we have in common, but the fact that CVille is not the capital city has been a separator for me. And the sprawl and transportation challenges are significantly more exasperated in Austin. Traffic here can suck, no doubt, but it's nowhere near the level in the capital city of Texas. The additions of the Institute and the school, biotechnology and data science, do drive me a little closer to accepting a mini Austification comparison. I'm much more concerned about the housing issue than I am the traffic. There just is not the supply. As a homeowner on the south side of town, I am sure my home value will continue to rise, as will the resulting tax bill. I've not been pleased with the recent tax increase. As someone who tries to see the smallest sliver of light in the darkest of situations, maybe the supervisors are anticipating the challenges: increased school demand, the need for more robust emergency response infrastructure, better roads, etc., that accompany a population spike and are trying to get ahead of the curve. Who knows? Having lived a hunk of my life in the Deep South, I can say these challenges are much preferred to the situations caused by a dwindling tax base, population flight, and overwhelming poverty. Thank you for spurring us to think about these issues, Jerry. Great comment. He compares Charlottesville to Austin.
Yeah.
I have long made the comparison of Charlottesville to the birthed baby of a menage a trois. And the menage a trois is Vail, Colorado, Greenwich, Connecticut, and Austin, Texas. They put some Marvin Gaye on, they choose to get it on, and a baby is birthed from the menage a trois. And you have Southampton, New York in the corner lurking and enjoying the menage a trois from a chair behind a hidden mirror.
Wow.
A two-way mirror. So if Austin and Greenwich and Vail, boom shakalaka, with Southampton, New York, watching behind a two-way mirror, and a child is birthed, we have Charlottesville, Virginia. That's the result. You have the tourists with Vail. You have the old money with Greenwich and the finance with Greenwich. You have the culture, the arts, the intelligence from the university, Austin, and UVA. And then you have the Southampton effect of second homes, third homes. That's what Charlottesville is. The birth child of Greenwich, Vail, and Austin, with Southampton lurking in the corner behind a two-way mirror. In that same thread of comments, B Squared, Barbara Bosick, who's a realtor. Barbara, this was fantastic commentary. In fact, I'm going to send you a friend request. We're not friends yet, but I was very impressed with your comment. B Squared said this. You ready for this, Judah?
Yeah.
And this is a perfect segue into our next headline. And our next headline is multifamily rental luxury apartment inventory. Multifamily apartments, luxury. Are they actually driving up home prices instead of stabilizing home prices like activists would lead you to believe? That's a perfect segue after Barbara's comment. B Squared says, well, Jerry Miller, the powers that be are so hell-bent in adding 1 million expensive rental units instead of using the same land for owner-occupied apartments that would serve young and old alike and help folks create equity at a reasonable price point. We have seniors in this community that would love to free up their homes and move to an apartment, not a rental, but an apartment, basically a condo or a townhome. We have people in there, you jump in next. We have people in their 20s and 30s, she says, that would love to be homeowners. But the level of resistance to this concept, condos and townhomes in this community, is staggering. Owner-only units would keep investors from gobbling up inventory and keep some reasonable, steady flow of inventory for all. So until we demand to have such housing, we will only have prices that are inherently a hurdle to regular folks and their home ownership. We need someone brave enough to lead such a local cause. Shame on all of us for conflating affordable housing options with entitlements and welfare. Affordable options are not government welfare. They are smart community planning, and until we understand this concept, all we have is this huge disparity of housing prices that leave everyone behind. I know that's not in the intent of your post, but I feel this side of housing needs to be discussed today. Thank you for the soapbox, Jerry Miller. It was truly my pleasure, B Squared. Barbara Bosick. Judah Wickower, you had something to say.
No, I was just seeking a little clarification.
She's making the argument that these multifamily rent-to-build projects, Graystar, 525 units, Subtex next to Scott Stadium with the Verve, Bloom next to Moe's Barbecue with up-campus housing, those build-to-rent are actually causing home prices to go up. And she makes the argument that these types of development projects, that local government should have insisted that they be townhomes and condos, because with townhomes and condos, condos specifically, you don't own the dirt.
Right.
The dirt is owned by the association.
Yeah.
So the housing stock is more affordable to purchase. Mm-hmm. It's like when I was just out of college, I was able to buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath at the Villas at Southern Ridge, Southside Charlottesville. I paid $184 for it, $184,000. I would never have been able to afford it if that was it's a 1,300 square foot unit. If that was a 1,300 square foot standalone house that had dirt that I was also the owner of.
Yeah.
The only way I could afford it at the time was because it was a condo. Mm-hmm. And Bosick, Barbara, B Squared, Babs, she makes the argument that government should insist these developers build to own, and that they be condos and townhomes as opposed to build to rent that are rentals, where they make money in perpetuity and they stick or they lock the renters into these $3,500 a month leases, where Judah very intelligently yesterday said, if you're in one of these leases, you're getting stranglehold with a lease payment, but you can't actually afford to break the lease, because wherever you go next, you're paying first month's rent, last month's rent, security deposit, and then moving costs.
Yeah.
So that's 3,500 times 3. What is that? 10,500 plus the moving costs, another 1,000. You're talking 11 G's, 12 G's just to get out of your lease and go somewhere else and be in the same situation.
Yeah.
And that 12 G hit goes a long way of taking your down payment for a home. B Squared, fabulous comment. Judah Wickhauer, you jump in here, and then we're going to get to comments that are coming in extremely quickly.
I think I like everything she has to say. It's very well put and very well thought out, and it makes a lot of sense. It makes sense that like you said, people aren't getting locked into to paying rents. When everything that comes in here is rentals, then nothing new to the area is going to be owned by anyone but the people that are getting all the money for the rents. And as she mentions with townhouses and condos, a lot of and I think some of our viewers have mentioned people wanting older generations to start moving out of their homes. But how can they at this point when so much of what's out there is a downgrade? Especially if you've got a locked in rate from before COVID, it's a really hard push to get someone to move out of that and take on a new mortgage at a higher rate. And as she mentions, older people would probably love to have spaces like that. Not older people, but people that are empty nesters. They don't need a 3 or 4 bedroom house anymore because the kids have moved out. They could do very well in a condo or a townhouse, but if nobody's building them, then why would they move out?
Well said. Have you noticed? It's odd, really, isn't it odd that we have a housing affordability crisis, and there are really not a ton.
Nobody's building houses
of townhomes and condos being built.
Yeah.
The homes that are being built are homes that are single-family detached. When they're new to market, are north of the median value of what's selling. They're 500, 600,000 up. Now, part of that is the cost of goods, the cost of materials. Part of that is the cost of labor. Part of that is the red tape associated with the project. Part of that is carrying costs and the fact that interest rates are higher now. There's a lot of different factors there. But the stock that's being built is higher than the median transaction values. Think about that.
Yeah. Very strange.
What do you make of that, viewers and listeners? That's some fodder for your cocktail and charcuterie this weekend. Mother's Day, that's some fodder for your Mother's Day get-together. Let's get to some comments. First, we'll go to the Queen of Earlysville, Vanessa Parkhill, her photo on screen. She's got some commentary on the first topic we covered, Jim Ryan and the feds. She said, Jim Ryan, you'd be crazy not to pick the funding from the federal government. She also says, the feds have used money to push policy for years. At least that's what local schools used to say when they were required to implement no child left behind policies. ACPS, Albemarle County Public Schools, also said that those were unfunded mandates because the cost of implementing the programs wasn't covered by the funds allocated. When I asked why, then why continue to implement the programs if the funding wasn't sufficient? Administrators looked at me like I had two heads. They said, we can't lose our federal funding. Feds somehow retain leverage even though it appeared as though ACPS was losing money doing what feds required. Doesn't pencil out for me. That's from Vanessa Parkhill. Martha Friedman, thank you for watching the program. We appreciate you, Martha Friedman. William McChesney, thank you for watching the program. Local television, local print, and local radio on the feed right now. Why, out of curiosity, and I can do an entire show on this, why do you not see more attached inventory built that could create a more affordable price point? Now, it's important to emphasize this. It is more challenging to get financing for attached inventory.
Okay.
It is not as easy to get bank financing, institutional lending for attached product. Not everyone's going to lend on a condo because the land creates more collateral and more stability with an asset that if the bank needed to, they could take over and resell. Dino says, Judah, this is a 90-hour-a-week work week community. Dino from Dino's Pizza. He says he's clocking 90 hours a week. So he's making the point there's people that are willing to work 90 hours a week to get financially ahead, to buy what they want, to have what they want, to employ the labor that they employ.
Okay.
So if you got folks that are clocking 90 and folks that are clocking 40, who's going to win? The person that's doing 2x plus the labor is going to win. He wants to highlight that. You got some pushback on your commentary from yesterday, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah, I have noticed.
John Blair, photo on screen. Jerry, you're not wrong at all. The build-to-rent concept is an add-on to the subscription economy. I love John Blair. Put the next lower third on screen about is build-to-rent, Judah, impacting home prices. Can you put that lower third on screen? I'm going to get back to John Blair. John Blair makes the program better. Jerry, you're not wrong at all. The build-to-rent concept is an add-on to the subscription economy. All of this is tied to the idea of destroying any semblance of independence for anyone. You will be owned by large corporations if everything, car, home, telecom, is subscription-based. The vote for the Graystar project very well may be the worst vote in Albemarle Board of Supervisors' 21st century history if it starts the trend of build to rent for everyone except the top 10%. That is one of the best comments that we have read on the show. He said the Graystar 525 unit build to rent concept on 35 acres off Old Ivy Road and the bypass, a model that is first delivering units to market next year, may be the worst vote in Albemarle Board of Supervisors' 21st century history if it influences other build-to-rent projects in a county. I'll add some context and color. In a county that is only allocating 5% of its land mass for development.
Yeah.
We have a county with very restrict development guidelines. So any development that's happening at this point with the county is development that is utilizing the last of the dirt resources, the last of the land resources for development. Great comment from John Blair. Mm-hmm. Should the policymakers instead be utilizing their leverage on the dais to encourage the developers, not build for rent if you want to do this project, it's got to be build for own. And we encourage you to do this type of housing stock.
Right.
That's a fascinating topic. That's the kind of stuff that I like to talk about right there. And I bet you that if it was 525 units that were built to own, and those 525 units that were built to own had a price point that was in the 200 to 500 range, those 525 units would sell at the drop of a hat.
Oh, yeah.
Because of its location, because of the amenities, the closeness to employment, to entertainment. Great comment from John Blair. Makes the program better every day. Make the argument, Judah, for the viewers and listeners, that build for rent, especially build for rent luxury, is going to do nothing more than increased home prices on single-family detached houses. I'm going to ask you this question.
They'll become a rare commodity. I mean, they kind of
Here's
are
the
in a
question.
way
You answer
already,
the question.
right?
Judah Wickhauer, you're one of the brightest students in our class.
I don't know about
You
that.
have a 4.0 GPA, and you got ADHD Jerry sitting in the back room not paying attention. He won't listen to me, the teacher. Please help Jerry, who's in the back room, just looking up Lauren's skirt or down her red Catholic cardigan uniform. Teach him why build for rent, Judah, is only going to drive up the cost of single-family detached homes. Because I'm tired as a sister of mercy here at Walsingham Academy having Jerry do all this work. He's not responding to the yardstick. He's not responding to the wooden spoon. He's not responding to detention. All he does is goof around in class. All he's doing is looking at girls. Teach him why build for rent is going to drive up the cost of single-family detached housing, Judah. Please, you're a 4.0 student.
I'm not sure I have the answer, but
Gosh, you never start with I am not sure. Even Jerry, who doesn't pay attention in the back of the class, knows you don't start an answer that way.
our viewers know that I'm not a
Help Jerry out. Why is
real
build
estate
for
genius.
rent?
I would think that it was a problem because it's going to make the already tight housing market even tighter. Actual housing is going to become a I just had the word
Commodity.
commodity. No, not it. Anyways, the problem is that everybody's going to want
Precious.
the
Few and far
houses.
between.
Yeah. Especially when the alternative is a $3,500 a month apartment. Even if it is, 3 or 4 bedroom. I don't know how many bedrooms you're going to get for that $3,500. But houses are going to become a hotter commodity than they have been because nobody's building them. I mean, that's what we need, right? We need people building houses. Am I wrong?
I get crucified by some by this. We need to build houses, but we need to do it in a way where infrastructure is as prioritized as the housing stock.
Yeah.
We can't just keep building if the infrastructure's not there. It's not a field of dreams. If you build it, they will come.
Okay, but let's say they're two different things because they are, right? The government is in charge of the infrastructure, right?
The government is in charge of all of it.
But they're
They're
not
not going to allow the housing to be built.
But they're
They
not
are
the
in
ones.
charge of that.
But they're not the ones that are going to build the housing. And the people that are building the houses are not necessarily building the infrastructure, unless of course it's paving a street so that they can create a new subdivision.
The developers of the housing utilize proffers to build infrastructure. The developers, for example, in Greene County, to get a project going in Greene, were utilizing their resources to reinforce water supply in Greene County because water was a concern. Developers used their resources to build roads, roundabouts, trails, bike lanes. Developers can also use their resources to contribute to affordable housing funds or to different type of funds, different type of allocations.
Yeah.
So the developer is also doing the infrastructure improvement as well. It's up to local government and our elected official to realize the influence they have. This Greystar project needed a rezoning. It would not have come to fruition if the county supervisors did not greenlight it.
Yeah.
And the county supervisors made a big mistake. They greenlit the Greystar project despite the Virginia Department of Transportation not having the roadway off Old Ivy Road
Yeah.
finished completely. So they're basically allowing these things to go on at the same time, which for 2-3 years is going to make quality of life nightmarish for all of us because they didn't plan accordingly.
Yeah.
So if the elected officials really utilize what the power they have, this leverage, where they hold the garage door opener, and they have the garage door opener in their hand, and they say, if you want to take the family Ford Explorer and allow it to come into the garage, you need us to push this button to get in. And they can say to developers, if you want to bring these 525 units, or subtext, you want to bring these 1,300 beds by Scott Stadium on Stadium Road, I'm not going to push this garage door opener until you do something for us, and it's not just going to be one thing. They're not doing it the right way. And when they do it, they're getting bamboozled and hoodwinked, tying 15% of the 525 units to 80% AMI for affordability purposes. That's asinine.
Yeah.
15% of 525 units? Geez Louise, 15% times 525, we're talking 79 units.
Yeah.
Tied to 80% AMI, 125,800 times 0.8. They're tying 79 units, which is a paltry amount out of 525,
Yeah.
to a area median income of over $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
Do they think the $100,000,
Is affordable?
or do they think the $100,000 family income is going to be your Starbucks barista?
Right.
Is going to be your bartender at Guadalajara Pantops?
Right.
Do they think that is going to be your dog washer and your dog groomer at Animal Connection? Or your waiter at Three Notched?
Right.
Or your fire pit stocker at Pro Renata? They're not going to do that. 100 G's family median household income, you got a white collar job. All they're doing is taking the service industry and throwing them to the outer counties. And then the service industry is like, dude, I'm not coming to Charlottesville to work those jobs to make 18, 19 bucks an hour and drive 45 minutes one way and 45 minutes one way back. Joanne Mackey, the queen of Glenmore, watching the program. I recall the neighbors in a senior living building that protested this. Nothing happened because they were told that their development was a precedent for this current project. As I recall on my part, yet I had no idea this was so immense. Same with Rio Point. And she said, the robots are coming. Vanessa Parkhill agrees with John Blair. And she says, at one time, you could inherit your father's record collection. And it was the coolest thing. Getting vinyl from your father after he passed away and getting a record player and listening to his vinyl. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to inherit your father's Spotify account? At one time, you used to inherit your father's dirty VHS tapes. And you'd be like, Dad, he watched these dirty VHS tapes? Now what are you going to inherit? Your dad's online subscription? I swear that wasn't me. My dad never had dirty. He's Southern Baptist. He was by the book. There's only one apple that's fallen very far from the tree in the Miller family, and you guys are watching and listening to him. All the other apples are very close to the Southern Baptist family tree. All right, it's 1:30 p.m. We have a couple more topics we need to get to. Judith, did you give some thought to what artificial intelligence was going to replace first, job-wise, in the Charlottesville market? And if you could put that lower third on screen. This is the second to last one, right?
I'm not sure I have a good answer for that.
Gee.
It's still a long way away. The first thing it's going to replace, I honestly don't know. People doing writing.
Well, when you're not certain, the first thing you should do is to go with stuff that you're certain of. We know that technology is already replacing the fast food worker. And I've regularly highlighted the impact of technology at the McDonald's on Pantops, where it's now being run by just 2 or 3 employees, where previously they had a dozen.
Yeah.
Okay? I think the first jobs that are going to be replaced are the jobs, as Travis Hackworth said in a message to us, the jobs, he says, AI is going to replace a lot of jobs. If it can be repeated or replicated, it can be replaced. Manufacturing, engineering, architectural, IT programming. Jobs once we thought were safe will soon be replaced. Artificial intelligence is replacing highly trained surgeons.
I mean, eventually, none of us are going to need to work, which just means that we're all going to be broke.
I don't think that's true.
You don't think it's going to replace most of us?
How is artificial intelligence going to replace deal making? I have a pair of clients that have been looking for commercial space to purchase, and they previously worked with 2 other professionals that couldn't find them anything. We found them something immediately. And then we try to figure out a deal structure where institutional lending would not provide them a vehicle to finance. We found them a different way to finance. And we found them a different way to finance because I've done the seller finance route a dozen times. And I just scaled my experience and utilized that for this. And then we found them attorneys and inspectors, and we found them contractors.
And you don't think that eventually that experience will be repeatable?
I think that type of deal is so nuanced, it's almost not repeatable because everyone's so different. I also think, say what I'm doing here, who's going to listen to a robot come on a show like this and offer commentary? The commentary offered by the robot would be commentary that would be so stale and mono and so robotic. Part of the reason with this program that I goof around and have fun, it's entertain and enlighten as much as it is educate.
Mm-hmm.
It's not me just sitting here reading or being monotone. Because if I just sat here and read and it was monotone, no one would listen, even if the content was good. Is the artificial intelligence going to have unique personality? I mean, not everybody likes my style. Some people absolutely hate it. We've got meme accounts that mock us all the time. But what they don't realize when they're mocking us all the time is that they're acknowledging that they're watching us. Love it or hate it, you know it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you acknowledge that it's there, that means the content creator has won. Artificial intelligence is going to replace the jobs that include work that is the same work done each day, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. Because that is something that artificial intelligence can learn to do. Did you hear Keith this morning on the show? He said the service, ChatGPT service he has, the $125 a month, is learning his style and how he pumps information and questions into it and what output it wants.
Mm-hmm.
He's learning from Keith.
Yeah.
If you're doing a job where you're doing the same thing every day, every week, every month, I would be nervous.
That's most of us, though.
That's not all of us. It's not all of us. I would say it's not all of us.
No.
All right, that's the Friday edition of the show. I want to close by saying I thought Judah Wickower had one of the best weeks in his 15 years on the job. He was fantastic this week. Judah Wickower crushed it. I would encourage you to watch the I Love CVille show every day at 12:30 p.m. or tell somebody about the show. We hold no punches. We are unabashed and unafraid in our commentary. I'm grateful for your viewership and your listenership. For Judah Wickower, my name is Jerry Miller. So long, everybody.